There we go. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And if this is not your first time, welcome back. We began each stakeholder working group meeting with a few housekeeping items, and I'm going to run through those really fast. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. This is a Zoom webinar, and you may have heard the little recording saying that this is being recorded. When we are done, when we receive the recording, we will post it on the project webpage. You can see us, we cannot see you because this is a webinar. You are able to raise your hand, your virtual hand, and we can take your questions that way. Let's see, so your microphones are muted, and that also helps ensure that we don't have any background noises from like your neighbor's dog. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So code of conduct has not ever been an issue in these meetings, but we all like to treat everyone with respect. We know sometimes the project can be controversial depending on where you sit or live and how you feel it. So we just want to respect that everyone has different views and opinions, and to just keep our communication open, and ask for help if there's something confusing about using Zoom, or ask questions if you're confused about the project. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So for those of you, if you are new to the Stakeholder Working Group meeting, the Stakeholder Working Group was established in 2020 at the request of our Eastridge to BART Regional Connector Policy Advisory Board. They requested that we develop a Stakeholder Working Group to serve as project liaisons in the community. And so they act as the in-between the project staff and the community. So they help ensure that information that we share is disseminated correctly, and also bring back information for the project. And the role is, it's pretty straightforward. Attend our quarterly meetings and act as that conduit for information to the community, disseminate accurate information. If they hear incorrect information, that's a great time to correct it. We want everyone to just be honest, make sure everybody's informed, and share feedback. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So I'm going to keep this really easy. So the agenda tonight, we're going to do roll call, and not all of our members are here tonight. So I'm not even going to do a whole roll call. I'll just say who is here and introduce the project staff. We'll have an update on the Stakeholder Working Group. I'll do an update on community outreach, and then Ben is going to give a project update, what's happened in the last 3 months since we met. And we'll have time for open discussion. And after each part, we'll stop and take your questions or hear your comments. Let's go to the next one. So I'm not sure where everyone is. We fell out of, we had a 6-month lull, and then we met again in May. And Laura is here tonight, Laura Rechka. She represents the Welch Park Neighborhood Association located in District 8. I know that John is traveling. I'm not sure where the rest of our team is. I hope they join us this evening. I just saw Sandy a couple of weeks ago at an event. We are tabling together next week. Yeah, we'll hopefully they'll join us this evening. Let's go into the next slide. I'm Kathleen Pedrosky. I'm a community outreach supervisor, leading outreach on this project. And my team is here tonight, David Lovato and Anthony Lopez. They will be working on this project with me. And when we start construction, it will be a lot of work, and we need everyone we have. You're going to hear from Ben tonight. He is the project manager, Ben Prasad, and Ken Ronci also is here this evening, and will be able to help answer questions if you have any that we cannot. All right, thanks. All right, so when we met in May, as I said earlier, we met after a 6-month break. While we were waiting for the project to receive its final funding, there wasn't a whole lot to update on, but we do stick to a pretty simple pattern on our agenda shown on this slide. And you also see slides from our screenshots from the last meeting. We used our last meeting to review the project and all the material that we've gone over the past couple of years, and how each discussion builds on the previous discussion. And we also shared an update on community outreach activities. And given the time of year that we are in now, my outreach report tonight almost reflects May as well. And I had provided a summary of the January station art meetings. At that time, we got to meet the artists that are contracted to do the Eastridge Station and Story Station art enhancement project. And we also talked a bit about microtransit, which is a technology-enabled transit service that uses small-scale vehicles like vans or shuttles to provide passengers with on-demand service using a smartphone application, kind of like a public Uber. And the working group asked to be updated and on how that is going forward, and I will provide that update later. And then at the last meeting, as at all of our meetings, we give an update on the project. We had shared pictures from the press conference that was held in April when we received the final funding, and we talked a lot about what to expect from construction, like what happens on day one, what happens 6 months later, what happens 3 years later. And if you are interested in a copy of that presentation, it is available online, as well as you can download the slides. And so you can have what happens on day one, what happens 3 months, 6 months down the line. And yeah, okay, we'll go to the next. So this is a time, no, go back to Stakeholder Working Group update. Go back one slide, thank you. I just want to share one of our members, Andre Solomonov. He represents the Brams Edgeview Neighborhood Association. He's taken on some new commitments and has resigned from the Stakeholder Working Group. And as one of our foundational members, Andreas has represented his neighborhood association and provided really thoughtful questions and ideas to the group as we have progressed on the project. And he's also introduced our team to his neighborhood association, Brams Edgeview. And we're really grateful for all of his participation. At the next Policy Advisory Board, I will report on this, and then the Policy Advisory Board will have an opportunity to consider nominating a replacement for Andreas. And just to kind of give everyone an idea, like what is that criteria to be nominated, we really, the focus is to have leaders from the community that represent community or groups located within the project area. So they must either live or work within half a mile of the project alignment and represent a group or association, or perhaps a community-based organization that's located within that half mile. They cannot be elected officials or work directly with an official representing the city of San Jose or county of Santa Clara, or have a conflict of interest. For example, they own property, or they work for VTA, or they are a potential vendor or consultant for VTA. Okay, I'll stop here. And I told Laura I wouldn't put her on the spot, but I'm just going to ask you a question. You are not on the spot. Is there anything you would like to provide any update on at this time? And she's driving, so give her a minute. Okay, Laura's being quiet, so we're going to go on to the next slide. I'll take that as a no. And I'm going to do this a little out of order. I'm going to say what's coming up and then say what we've been doing. So coming up is the next part of the station community art enhancement meetings, and that is to see the concepts that the artists have come back with. In January, they learned about the community. The community shared where they were from, what areas, what neighborhoods they represent, what's important about San Jose and East San Jose to them. They talked about the history. They talked about funny things, we used to have Mark's hot dogs. I think I got the name right. And then the artists also did their own research. And then the next step is they come back and show us what they have conceived for their respective stations. So on August 31, so that's next Thursday, we're going to meet with Laura Haddad and Tom Drugan, and they are going to show us what they have come up with for the Eastridge station. And we're just going to focus on one station, one artist, so that we can really get into that. And then they're going to explain like how they came up with the concept. And then we're going to do this again 2 weeks later on September 13th with Amir Fala, and he'll show you what he has designed for the Story Station. And I can't share these right now with you. We'll have to wait till the art meetings, but I have had the privilege of seeing them, and it's really neat. I hope everyone else feels the same way. We want the community to stay involved in the process and to continue to share your perspectives as the artists work towards finalizing their concept proposal for final review. On each meeting date, on the 31st and on the 13th, we're going to hold 2 meetings. They will be exactly the same information, but presented differently. At 6 o'clock, it's in English. I have interpreters for Spanish and Vietnamese speakers. And if we need additional interpreters, all the community has to do is just give us a call, let us know we need an interpreter in their language. And then at 7:15, we repeat that information, but it will be facilitated in Spanish. And we have local community members to help with the facilitation. And for those of us who don't speak English, we will have interpreters too, so we can understand what the community is saying back. They are both on Zoom. And just to let you know, on the outreach, we've mailed out over 12,000 copies along the corridor within half a mile of either the border of it. We've posted on Nextdoor, a couple emails to stakeholders so far. Our partners have been sharing, our policy advisory board members have been sharing. So for example, Councilmember Ortiz and Candelas have been putting that in their weekly, not every week, but in their weekly updates. And there are social media ads. I've got a copy of it. You can see it on the right. That's the social media ad popping up on your Facebook feed. And the image on your left is a copy of the mailer. And we also have posters at our stations, the BRT stations along the alignment. So we are working at getting this out. And we can go to the next slide now. The other way we're getting it out is we're tabling, and this has been the season of tabling for our team. On National Night Out on August 1st, we were at 5 different events, and specifically for Eastridge to BART Regional Connector Project, we were at 2. So we were in District 5 at the Mount Pleasant Neighborhood Association, and then at District 8 at the Meadow Fair part. Last Friday, we were at Back to School Night at Catherine Smith Elementary School. And then just the other evening on Tuesday, we were at Viva Parks in Mayfair. And on Monday, we'll be at the next Viva Park at Capitol Park. And so we'll table at those from 6 to 8 p.m. When they start the movie, then nobody was interested in coming to our table, so we go. We're getting a lot of really neat feedback. And you know, what I generally hear from the community is enthusiasm for the project. I hear groans when we talk about the traffic impacts. I'm not surprised. But it's usually followed with, we get it. You know, we're going to have the impacts to get light rail here. And that's exactly the case. There are a few folks who are, object to the project. But I would say overall, I hear more community support than objection. I will stop here. Oh, I should mention too, next month we will be at Goss Dauburn Aptitude Academy. And through these events, I have been able to connect with the a couple of the school districts, and so hopefully get on their agendas. And it was interesting to learn too, at Catherine Smith Elementary, they don't have a PTA group. It's an area where, the parents, a lot of the parents are, working multiple jobs, and so they just don't have the funding to have a PTA. So we'll try to get into the school district or the board meetings. I'll stop here and check and see if there's any questions. Comments from anybody? I would also like to welcome Craig. Thank you. You're here. Okay, I want to keep going, and it's still on the slide. So hold on, go back. What? I'm not done with this slide. Okay, go back to thank you. I just want to give an update. This was asked for at the last meeting. We've had these other meetings with Eastside leaders to talk about transportation options and connections near the Ocala Avenue area. And the group is being apprised with the same information that you are as well, with regards to the outreach and project and the scheduling and where we are with everything. And at the last meeting, at the request of Supervisor Chavez, we shared a draft station concept and it would be subject to design by a future developer. So if and when the Reed Hillview Airport is developed and there is desire to have a light rail station there, how something might maybe work. It is just too preliminary to really say what that would be. So we want to be careful and not get people concerned or excited. The development has to happen first. But one of the paths towards implementing microtransit is for the city of San Jose to apply to a Measure B innovative transit program. It's a grant. And we anticipate the next round of applications will occur probably in early 2024. NBTA planning staff is working closely with City of San Jose staff to define what a microtransit project on the east side would look like, and to communicate what we have been hearing from the east side leaders to the City of San Jose. The topics that we've been discussing have been shared with council members Ortiz and Candelas and their staff. They've been attending, and city staff will continue to keep them apprised of what is going on. We would anticipate that San Jose staff, city staff, would conduct public engagement activities related to defining a microtransit project for the east side. Coming up, I already mentioned we have the station art meetings, and we have our stakeholder working group in November. Actually, I'm going to back up a little bit. We're here on August 24th. We're here to the stakeholder working group. The next one will be in November. And then, of course, we have the policy advisory board next month. Okay, that's what I have for this slide. And yeah, we can go on. Any questions before we finish this community outreach update? Okay. This is a regular slide, everyone. Our webpage, bta.org/Eastridge to BART, takes you directly to the community outreach, to the project webpage. And you can see the accordions below. If you click on each of the green stars, this is a slide, so it won't do it. Oh, we're not live on the webpage, but you click on that, it opens up the topic under there. So you can get all of the meetings that this is where we store the videos to these meetings. The environmental documents are there, construction notices, newsletters, everything that we put out there. And my next slide, I'm going to transition this to Ben. Unless anyone has questions, I'm looking for hands.
So I don't see any questions.
All right, let's go to the next slide. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen. Good evening. Ben Prasad, project manager for Eastridge to BART Regional Connector project. So I'm going to give you a project update today. I'm going to start with going back to the proposed project. I think many of you are familiar with what the project is, but I'll quickly go through this. This project extends the VTL light rail from Alum Rock Station to Eastridge. So the project is along Capital Expressway on an aerial guideway in the median. It is 2.4 miles long. There is a minor widening of the road between Story and Capitol Avenue, so that we have room in the middle to build the light rail project. So we have two stations in the project. One is at Story Road, and the other one is at Eastridge at the end of the line. We also have a pedestrian bridge at Story Station to connect from street level to the platform level, which is at the aerial guideway level. So we have two traction power substations, one at Ocala and one at Eastridge. We have finished majority of the utilities. I would say probably 98% of the work is done. We still have some minor relocations that are happening right now. So this is all the PG&E, San Jose Water, and all the communication utilities like Comcast and AT&T and other utilities. Next slide, please. So this is something we also had shared before. This is a typical section of how the aerial guideway is going to look when complete. On the left side is it's in the middle of Capital Expressway. So pretty much, this is a concrete bridge, and you'll see it is supported by piles and down below the ground. And it's got a foundation. We call it a pile cap, and over that is the column. And over the column is the box girder bridge. It's called a box girder because you'll see those three boxes in there. These are cast in place, which is, all the concrete and everything is poured in place. So the one on the right is at Tully Road. You may remember, if you had in the previous meetings, that the alignment shifts from the median, which is the middle of Capital Expressway, to the west side. It comes from the aerial at a higher level to the street level at the Eastridge. So what you see on the right side is a typical section. So typically, these piles you see below ground are driven piles. These are concrete piles. We have these at 72 locations. So along the 2.4 mile long, we have these at 72 locations. So at each location, we probably be driving piles for probably 4 to 5 days at each of the locations. So these are roughly about spaced around somewhere between 200 to 300 feet spacings at various locations. Next slide, please. So I want to give you a project update where we are, and I'm happy to inform that the construction package is complete and we have advertised this project. So the contract package is out for bids. We are expecting bids to come in October. And so this has taken a long time, and we are waiting for the funds to be available to start construction. And we are happy to inform that we have advertised this project on July 25th. In terms of the right-of-way, property acquisition is complete. So we have all the area that's needed for construction. Funding is fully it's fully funded. The project is fully funded for construction, and utility relocation work is reaching completion. So I'm going to give you a little bit more detail in the next slide on the utility relocation. Next slide, please. So PG&E's relocation work is nearing completion, and restoration is in the works. It's as you can see on the right, we have some pole relocations that are happening near Capitol Avenue and Capitol Expressway. So this work is being completed. And once this is done, all the utility companies will be restoring the places back to, if there's any striping to be done or sidewalk stripings to be done, they do that and bring it back to the original condition. So we still have some work by AT&T, Comcast, and Crown Castle, and they have started the relocation work. They're waiting for PG&E to complete, and so they have started the relocation work. And we expect all these utilities to be cleared by fall of 2023. So we expect sometime in probably late September, October time, that we expect all the work to be complete. So this really clears the whole area for us to proceed with construction. There's no disruption from these utility companies, for us to build the project in the middle of the expressway. Basically the majority of the relocations is happening because this is in the way of the project, right? We have these, like I said earlier, we have the foundations, we have the column, underground, all these utilities were there. And so we had to move it out so that it clears the way for us to, construct the project. So next slide, please. So I want to give you a quick schedule on where we are on the procurement. There was a pre-qualification of the contractors that was issued on June 15th. We received the pre-qualification package from them on August 15th. Earlier I had mentioned that we advertised the project on July 25th. The bids are due on October 12th. So this is when the contractors will be sending their bids to VTA, and we expect to award this contract on December 7th. So this will be done by the Board of Directors, VTA Board of Directors, and we expect the construction to start in early 2024. Next slide, please. We had some queries from community members about small business participation, and also about other opportunities for local community. So I have a couple of slides to go over what we have in the contract, for the contractors who are bidding on this project, some of the requirements that we have. So one of them is the small business participation. VTA encourages small business enterprises to bid on this project. We follow the state and federal regulations on this one. We encourage small business to be part of this project and bid the projects. So they'll be working closely with the big contractors. We call them as prime contractors. So the SBE program is managed by Office of Business and Diversity Program, so they do monitor the participation, SBE participation on this project and other projects in general for VTA. So we had an SBE outreach engagement event on the July 26th. So this was to bring in all the primes, the potential prime contractors, and for them to network with small businesses. So we had a very good turnout of small business and the prime contractors. We set up a booth for them. And so as you can see in some of the photos, they were very engaged and, discussed prospects of, being on this, bidding on this project. So, in the SBE program, each project has a specific SBE goal to meet. And we also have, on this project, we have 8% goal for SBE, which is small business enterprise. So we have a very, we have rules to be followed by the contractor when they're, proposing their small business enterprise goal. So if they don't meet the goal, they have to provide what's called good faith efforts documentation. We want to make sure that, the prime contractors have done their due diligence, looking for small businesses, and we ask for documentation on that just to make sure that, the goals are met. So next slide, please. One of the things we have here is to encourage, local community and for job creation. So we have executed project labor agreement with the local union. So we have the building council for Santa Clara and San Benito, and we have executed a project labor agreement. The PLA, we call it, is to promote efficiency of construction operations. We want to ensure that adequate supply of skilled craftspeople are available for the project, so that there's a smooth construction, smooth execution of the project. And also the PLA to provide peaceful and settlement of labor disputes and grievances. Promote VTAs and public interest in ensuring timely and efficient completion of the project. So all the workers will be dispatched through union hiring halls. We also make sure that the fringe benefit contributions are put in appropriate trust fund, and also to comply with targeted hire for apprentices. So it's very important that that the contractor follow this, and we have a labor agreement, to enforce all these requirements. Next slide, please. We also have a requirement for prevailing wage, to pay applicable prevailing wages. The contractors are required to register with Department of Industrial Relations. There's a database, that captures all the payments and making sure that, prevailing wages are paid. Certified payrolls are required as part of the requirement for the contractor to submit for us. Also, the contractors must comply with the straight time and overtime rules. These are all part of the contract requirements that we have, just to ensure that, the workers are paid fair wages on this project. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to open for any discussion or any comments or questions you have. I want to mention, I think in the next meeting or so, as we get closer to construction, we'll bring in more topics about construction and how we're going to we plan to execute this construction of the project. So we'll do that in the future stakeholder meetings.
Thank you, Ben. I had asked Ben to talk about the SBE requirements because we've had a lot of questions about that. So I think if anyone else has questions we want to ask, this is the time. This is also a good time if you would like to see things covered, even if we've covered it before. We do like to repeat so that people can remember. This is a great time to tell us. You can also email us, but I just want to put that out there. This is for you. Otherwise, we're just talking heads.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Hi, Craig. Yes, we can.
How you doing? So I did get a little bit late. You were talking something about the Ocala station or Ocala stop. Is that a missed part of that?
No, that's okay. So let me go back to that. So there's another group, Eastside Leaders, we've been meeting with regularly regarding the station area. There isn't a station. There is not going to be a station at Ocala, but we understand that people would like to either see a station. They want to see other, some kind of transportation services, more transportation services there. So, we've been working with Supervisor Chavez and to meet with the Eastside leaders to hear and understand what the community concerns are about transportation in the future of their community. And as I said, the project is going forward with the stations at Story and Eastridge, but one of the proposals that can be considered for the area is a microtransit. And microtransit is a technology-based public transit service that uses small vehicles like the smaller van or shuttle to provide passengers with an on-demand service using a smartphone app. So it's kind of like an Uber in public transportation. And Supervisor Chavez made a referral in May at the Board of Directors meeting for a microtransit program for the Eastridge community. And it would include community outreach and also better understanding what the community needs are, and implementing a pilot program is something that our general manager is completely on board with. And so we've been having multiple meetings, and in our last meeting this is August and July, we went a little further into it, and the way to get a microtransit project in San Jose is for the city itself actually has to apply. They would have to run it. They would apply for Measure B funding. It's a Measure B Innovative Transit Program. And the next round of applications will be in early January. And we also learned that city staff has also been looking at the potential of a microtransit project already for the east side of San Jose. And all these topics have been brought up, and we've brought in the council members from District 5 and 8, Ortiz and Candelas, and their staff. So they're apprised of it as well. And, so this isn't something that's going to be implemented. It's not as quick as you can think about it. They have to apply for the grant. They have to have a program, and our staffs are working together to help them develop something like that and then apply for the funding. And one of the things they talked about too, Craig, was if and when the airport is developed, it would be on a developer if the community still wants a station at Ocala, we would want the developer to be the one that creates it. And we don't have a design. We don't have we were asked for some kind of what could it look like? But there's so many other considerations. So we provided, it could maybe be something like, and we should. I think you might recall Ken had shared some if there was a station there, what all the concerns were. There was houses, there were the traffic on Capitol Expressway. The airport. the land still belongs to the airport, right? So what does it look like later? You know, we don't know, we can't predict that, but, you know, could something happen? Potentially can go, you know, it could happen. We don't know how it would impact light rail at this time. It would just depend on what the final design is if it happens. Does that make sense? It's like I'm trying to look into a crystal ball that doesn't exist.
No, I understand. I'll get in touch with Supervisor Canales' office and you, and I'll follow up further at a later date.
Yeah, okay. And you know, I'm sure it's going to come up at the Policy Advisory Board, which is September 20th. That's coming up in my next slide. It's a good meeting to attend.
I'll be on that one. Thank you.
Awesome. It's good to see you.
Yep.
Anyone else have questions? We're happy to take them. As always, you can shoot us an email. We'll go ahead to the next slide. So next Board of Directors meeting, you know, I just like to share these. You know, I don't know that we have anything on this project on the agenda in September, but we do have a Board of Directors meeting on September 7th, and then the Policy Advisory Board, which I think you might like to attend. This is now very similar reports, project updates, updates on outreach, and this is where we sometimes can get asked the hard questions and given some really good direction. And so I really enjoy those meetings. It's September 20th at 4 p.m. And then our next Stakeholder Working Group meeting will be November 16th. And just to let you know, when we have our our contractor on board, we are going to do community meetings about construction. You know, a lot of the presentations we've been doing over the past few years, building up on it, explaining what happens, how it happens. You know, it's finally real. And, you know, and it took a while to get to this point. And so I think a lot of it needs to be reiterated. And now we'll be able to go forward with better timing and dates and you know, to give people, you know, what to anticipate. So my intent is to have at least 2 meetings, one in person and one virtual. And I would anticipate having those probably around after the holidays, maybe about February. In the meantime, we are still available to come to your neighborhood association, or I see Nathan and Yen. Business association meetings. We really like making those connections. So, you know, just reach out. And as always, I did put in the webinar chat a link to the art meetings. Please come. I really am excited for folks to see that. I hope, you know, when we talk about construction impacts and traffic and noise, that we can also look at the pretty stuff. The art is just, I'm always amazed at how 2 artists took information from the community. They heard the same information and they came up with 2 completely different and yet so beautiful ways of integrating that. And so I'm excited to share that in the next couple of weeks. All right. I think is there one more slide? Oh yeah, and as always, there's our contact information. And when you go to our webpage, the project page, when you scroll either down on your phone or over to the right on the bottom, you can subscribe to updates. That is the one that says, yeah, I want to get your email. I don't spam you. We just, you know, like to share information and engage with all of you.